The sinister lessons from our new teacher. What we discovered is cursed and haunted. Sarah stepped off the bus, her heart fluttering with excitement as she inhaled the crisp maple wood air. This was it, the beginning of her dream life. She smiled at the white picket fences and colorful gardens blooming with optimism. But as she waved at her neighbors, their friendly smiles felt oddly stranged, their eyes glancing away too quickly. Was it just her imagination, or was there a hint of dread lurking under their cheerful facade? The first day of school unraveled with a palpable shift. Sarah opened the door to her classroom, expecting to be greeted by vibrant energy. Instead, she found her students seated in silence, eyes dull as if weighted down by an unseen force. Any excitement she had felt fizzled, replaced with a strange chill, an unsettling fear that crept into the corners of her mind. Whispers from the townspeople floated through her thoughts, tales of Miss Hart, the beloved teacher who vanished 5 years ago. Her picture hung in the hall, the vibrant smile a stark contrast to the heaviness suffocating the room. As days turned into nights, the echoes of those whispers became louder. An unexpected chill swept through the school on parent-teacher night. Wandering the dimly lit hall, an inexplicable feeling of dread coiled within her. Sarah brushed her hand along the walls, and it brushed back with strange scrawls, symbols that twisted her stomach into knots. The air crackled with tension. She could almost feel the ghosts of the past hovering around her. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As Sarah hurried home, the flickering porch light promised warmth against the growing darkness, but shadows danced behind her as if something was slipping just out of sight. Within her classroom, whispers emerged, a chilling tale recounted by Oliver, the most peculiar child, whose eyes seemed to hold secrets too heavy for his small frame. He spoke of a lurking shadow that claimed the innocent, a figure shrouded in local folklore. Each word sent ice through her veins, reinforcing the tight knot of unease swelling inside her. She became determined to protect her students, but why was she feeling this surge of urgency? The whimsical facade of her neighbors cracked under the weight of her suspicions, their warm greetings now cold and hollow, trepidation wrapping around every smile. Each day unfolded like a twisted storybook, more and more compelling, yet filled with warnings too rich to ignore. Finally, she could no longer resist the pull of the abandoned wing of the school, the wing forgotten by time but haunted by Miss Hart's memory. Sarah felt an irresistible urge to explore, to uncover the truth. Dusty photographs and fragments of the past lay scattered. Just as she reached a basement door slightly ajar, a cold gust wrapped around her, whispering threats that ignited every hair on the back of her neck. "Don't go down there." The voice was hushed, reverberating through her bones, pulling her back while pushing her forward into the darkness ahead. What awaited her below? With racing heart and trembling hands, she faced the growing shadows, knowing that to protect her students, she had to confront the truth. The answer lurked just a heartbeat away. The stairs creaked ominously beneath Sarah's hesitant steps, each board groaning as if in protest. Darkness engulfed her, thick and palpable, pressing against her skin like the breath of something unseen. She reached for her phone, praying for the reassuring glow of a flashlight, but a glance at the screen revealed it was dead. A chill raced up her spine. In that suffocating silence, the whispers grew louder. They were no longer distant echoes, but clear and sharp, swirling around her in a symphony of fear. "Get out! Leave now!" they warned, but her feet remained anchored to the spot. Something was down there. She could feel it. As she descended further, a flickering light caught her eye. It flickered in a small room at the end of the hall, illuminating the dust motes dancing like restless spirits. Drawn to it, she pushed open the door, which protested with a low, ominous groan. Inside, old desks lay overturned, and a chalkboard covered in strange symbols loomed over her like a dark omen. The air reeked of mildew and something more, a foul odor that clawed at her throat. On the board, beneath the cryptic drawings, scribbled were the words, "Not all who enter return." A jolt of terror shot through her. She stepped back, heart thudding, the message cutting into her mind. Oliver's tales of the shadowy figure sprang back at her, the child's warnings echoing in her ears. She turned abruptly, intent on retreating, but froze as the door slammed shut behind her. The sound echoed like thunder, locking her in the suffocating grip of despair. She grabbed the handle, pulling with all her strength, but it wouldn't budge. Panic coursed through her limbs, causing her to scramble towards the windows, but they were boarded up, each one a sealed promise of her entrapment. Suddenly, the flickering light dimmed and then extinguished, plunging her into darkness. She could barely breathe, her heart pounding like a war drum. In the silence that followed, she stumbled back, her feet hitting something cold and unyielding. Shivers coursed through her body as his name slipped breathlessly from her lips. "Miss Hart." A whisper drifted through the dark, threading between the shadows. "Help me." It was soft, agonizing, a plea that twisted in her gut. A desire to flee clawed at her insides, battling against a need to help. But help what? A ghost? A long-lost teacher trapped within these walls? "Get out!" The whispers rose again, frantic and desperate. Sarah stumbled around the room, searching for a way out, her mind racing. She couldn't leave yet, not until she understood what had happened to Miss Hart. What darkness consumed this place? The air turned colder, a presence enveloping her, pressing in from all sides, as if it were alive, hungry. She heard a rustle behind her, a shuffling sound of something moving in the dark. The shadows twisted, morphing into a shape she couldn't quite make out. Fear clutched her throat. She had to know what was there, yet every instinct screamed at her to run. That chilling voice echoed again, now nearer, now more insistent. "Help me." The floor trembled slightly underfoot, and suddenly a light flared back to life, but it was no longer the one she had seen. This light pulsed with an unnatural hue, revealing a figure in front of her, its features shrouded in darkness. "Join me," it whispered, extending a hand toward her. Was it Miss Hart, or something far more sinister? The scent of decay filled the air as the figure beckoned, escalating Sarah's terror to a fever pitch. She had to make a choice, face the darkness or flee into the unknown. But if she chose to leave, would she ever see her students again? Her heart hammered in her chest as she floated between fear and courage. Just as she made up her mind, the figure took a step closer, and with it, the face emerged from the shadows, and everything changed. An icy grip tightened around her throat as she realized the truth of the entity before her. What had been waiting all this time? In that moment, the darkness no longer felt like a refuge. It felt like a trap, and she was caught. What awaited her revelations could reshape everything she thought she knew about Maplewood and its cursed history. Would she find freedom, or was the door behind her already closed forever? The figure inched closer, its features sharp against the dim light. Sarah's breath hitched as she recognized the face, a twisted version of Miss Hart's, haunted with despair and an unearthly hunger. Those familiar eyes were now voids, swirling with darkness that threatened to draw her in. "Join me," the voice echoed, dripping with pain. It was a command wrapped in a plea, enticing yet repulsive. Sarah wanted to scream, but no sound emerged. Instead, a cold wave of dread crumbled her will to fight. Shadows slithered around her, creeping closer, whispering secrets that pricked her mind like needles, coaxing her into submission. "No!" she finally cried, and instinct kicked in. She spun away from the figure, eyes darting desperately around the room. She had to escape. The air thickened, a pressure building, as if the walls themselves were pushing back against her. The weight of unseen eyes bore down, tangible and suffocating. "Help me!" The voice strained, echoing from somewhere else in the darkness, a sound that was both a lamentation and a warning. Torn between the urge to help and a primal need to flee, panic soaked her thoughts. The door remained fixed, a mocking barrier. The windows offered no escape, the boards solid and relentless. The light flickered again, illuminating the chalkboard behind her, where the cryptic symbols seemed to pulse with a life of their own, reaching out to her, desperate in their ancient language. She felt the urge to understand, as if the symbols could unravel the mystery surrounding Miss Hart and this place. But the shadows twisted at her feet, whispering of danger, urging her back. With a surge of determination, Sarah grabbed a jagged piece of wood from the floor, a makeshift weapon against the darkness that threatened to consume her. The figure tensed, snatching back, its features blurring. "Don't resist!" it snarled, the sweet tones of Miss Hart fading to an unsettling hiss. "You're not her!" Sarah shouted, advancing a step, holding the wood aloft like a shield. But fear still gripped her heart. She couldn't shake the feeling that the entity was once who it claimed to be. Ghost or guise, the connection felt real, too haunting to dismiss outright. A shudder reverberated through the room, rattling the loose boards beneath her. The walls whispered louder, a cacophony of forgotten screams and muted prayers, clawing at her sanity. "Get out!" they cried, a chorus of souls trapped within these walls. "Help me!" the voice came again, softer now, almost pleading. The figure retreated further into the shadows, its outline flickering with uncertainty. Sarah hesitated, the idea of leaving almost unbearable. But the cold touch of the figure's hand earlier, the weight of despair clinging to every corner of the room, reminded her of the urgency of survival. She had to break free or risk becoming part of this hellish lesson plan. She bolted for the door again, slamming her body against it. It shook but didn't open. A scream of frustration ripped from her throat. Desperately she turned back, brandishing her makeshift weapon toward the darkness. "I won't help you!" The figure lunged, and in that instant time froze. Shadows surged forward, enveloping her, whispering promises of knowledge and power. Sarah could feel them tugging at her mind, pulling her closer to the edge of oblivion. A favor must be paid, a soul must be traded. The choice echoed in her thoughts. And just as she thought her spirit would shatter, the world exploded in light. As swiftly as it came, the entity vanished, leaving only the ghostly echo of Miss Hart's voice behind. In the quiet that followed, Sarah felt a sudden shift in the air, a chill that seemed to usher her back into reality. With one last look at the chalkboard, she felt a strange compulsion, as if it held the key to unravel the threads of horror woven into this school's fabric. The door was still shut tight, but a thin crack of light flickered beneath it, enticing her. What lay beyond was uncertain, but she knew one thing: answers awaited her. Then she heard it again, a whisper, softer now. "Help me." Sarah reached for the handle and turned it slowly, knowing she had to confront whatever lay ahead. Would she find salvation or descend further into the abyss? The door creaked open, revealing more than she ever bargained for. Would she emerge unscathed or become the latest lesson taught in Maplewood? The door groaned as it opened, the squeal echoing through the dark hallway, a sound so loud it felt like a wild animal's roar. Sarah stepped into the narrow corridor, and instinctively she clutched the piece of wood tighter. The air was thick, a musty smell wrapping around her like a shroud. A rusty light flickered above, barely illuminating the path ahead. As she moved forward, Sarah's heart thudded in her chest, racing with each step. Long shadows danced along the walls, and the whispers intensified, a haunting melody of defeat and despair that drifted from somewhere far off. "Help me." The voice was now clearer, almost melodic, yet still laced with pain. It gripped her chest, squeezing tight. Sarah turned, searching for the source. She could feel the walls close in, pushing her deeper into this labyrinth of echoing cries. Shaking off the growing unease, she pressed forward until she reached a classroom door on her right. It stood ajar, creaking softly with a gentle breeze that sent shivers coursing down her spine. She peeked inside. The room was empty, desks scattered as if abandoned in a hurry. But it was the sight of the chalkboard that drew her gaze. Symbols, the same ones she'd seen before, scratched deep into the slate surface. A strange compulsion to step inside surged within her, a magnetic pull forged by the mystery those carvings promised. Suddenly, a scuttling sound from the corner jolted her upright. She turned, eyes wide. In the shadows, a rat darted out, scampering across the floor. The creature was small, but Sarah nearly jumped out of her skin. Breathing heavily, she turned back to the chalkboard, determination replacing fear. "Focus," she whispered to herself, stepping into the room. As she approached the board, she noticed something slick glistening beneath it, dried blood. Gagging at the sight, she stumbled back. "What happened here?" she whispered to no one. The whispers grew louder, now a furious background bass line beneath the surface of her thoughts. A scream built in her throat as the weight of the classroom pressed on her. "Help me, please." The voice cracked like a fragile glass, ready to shatter. There was desperation behind it. Would it be enough for Sarah to obey, to lean into that voice and the chaos swirling around her? A chill crept along her skin, and she glanced at the doorway. Something shifted in the corner of her vision. A shadow moved. Fumbling, she turned the piece of wood in her grasp. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice barely a whisper. The darkness thickened. The murmurs of despair now turned to laughter, mocking her uncertainty, echoing around her. She tightened her grip, every inch of her wanting to flee, but the voice clung to her, pulling her closer. "Stop! I won't help you!" she yelled, feeling small and insignificant against the tidal wave of anguish crashing against her reason. And then, silence. The laughter vanished. The air grew cold, stifling, heavy with tension. Sarah stood alone, heart racing. Then she heard it again. "Join me." For a moment, the air shimmered, and the outline of the figure from earlier began to materialize once more. Only this time, it was different. It was not Miss Hart, not any more nor ever again. The figure was wreathed in shadows, its limbs elongated, contorted in angles that made her skin crawl. Sarah stumbled back, panic seizing her ability to think. "What do you want from me?" she shouted. There was no answer, just the stillness hanging in the air like a weight. The figure twisted its head, and in that stillness, Sarah realized the truth. This was not just a plea for help. This was a sinister invitation to make a choice. As the grasp of dread tightened around her heart, the wood fell from her trembling hands. She could feel the pull of the entity wrapping around her as the shadows surged, merging with the darkness that surrounded her. The classroom door behind her slammed shut, sealing her in. In that moment of despair, time stretched, and she could almost see the threads of her fate weaving around her. Rescue or ruin? The question echoed in her mind as the shadows closed in, and she was left wondering if she had already made the wrong choice. And then the room trembled. "Welcome to Maplewood," it hissed, And just like that, the darkness deepened, and Sarah realized she was not merely a visitor. The lesson had just begun. What would happen next? Would courage break the spell, or would she be the next lesson in this cursed school? The shadows pulsed, alive with a sinister energy, and Sarah, pinned against the wall, felt the cold fingertips of dread coiling around her throat. This can't be happening, she thought, breath hitching as the entity drew closer. The classroom throbbed with its presence, walls constricting like a vice, whispering secrets etched in the very veins of Maplewood. Sarah. It stretched her name, a taunting melody filled with malice. You are chosen. The words reverberated in her skull, mixing with the echoes of despair which had filled the room moments before, their overlapping cries clawing at the edges of her mind. Forcing her eyes open, she scanned the room for a way out. Desks stood askew, a testament to the escape of students long gone, perhaps victims of these very shadows. Her gaze darted back to the chalkboard, the symbols writhing in her memory like snakes. Was this what they had left behind? Warnings or invitations to join their fate? Join us, the figure hissed again, now just inches away, faceless, yet somehow everything she feared. Sarah's heart raced, adrenaline pumping through her veins like ice water. Could she really trust it? Could she trust anything here? Leave me alone, she screamed, pushing against the wall as if it might open a crack to escape through. The shadows paused, caught off guard by her outburst. Perhaps they were waiting for her acquiescence, for her surrender. But fear was a double-edged sword. Maybe you were different, it hissed mockingly. But here, those like you only fade. The figure's long arms reached towards her, fingertips stretching, hungry for more than just a witness. In its grip lay despair, a promise of freedom wrapped in eternal darkness. "No!" she shouted, grounding herself in defiance. She turned on her heel and charged towards the door, only to find it sealed shut, a wall of darkness hammering back at her like a living thing. Her hands pounded against the wood, heart echoing the frantic beats of panic. Help! Someone! Anyone! What had she done to deserve this? Suddenly, everything around her felt hollow, like a shattered shell rather than a school. The laughter returned, sweeping through the room like a chilling breeze. Help? You think they can hear you? No one hears. Despair threatened to swallow her whole, wrapping its cold fingers around her heart. But with every ounce of fear came a flicker of anger. She wouldn't be another lost soul bound to the horrors of this place. Gathering every grain of resolve she had left, she turned back to the figure, defiance glittering in her eyes. "You don't own me," she declared, shaky but firm. "I will not join your madness." The air crackled with tension. The figure recoiled, shadowy features twisting into a grotesque mix of surprise and rage. The whispers surged, their cries amplifying, eager to drown out her defiance. As they crescendoed, fragments of other souls' terror intertwined with the laughter. They were inside her mind now, suffocating, pulling, threatening to collapse her will. "Foolish child," it hissed, inching closer. "You have already made your choice." The ground beneath her trembled, and the very walls of the classroom flickered like a flame about to be snuffed out. She felt the shadows shaking with fury, a storm brewing within the depths of Maplewood. The entity lunged forward, its gnarled hands reaching to claim her. In that moment of entropy, there was only one thought that mattered. "Save me!" she gasped, an involuntary plea lacing her voice with desperation. But the darkness only laughed harder, mocking, overflowing with twisted pleasure as it closed in on her. Then,
From somewhere beyond the shadows, a light glimmered faintly. Could there be hope? As her heart raced, she heard the whispers shift again, this time less. It was an invitation to uncover truths that could either save her or bring her deeper into the abyss. With courage coiled tightly within her, Sarah reached towards the light. But would it lead her to safety or deeper into the labyrinth of Maplewood's dark mirage? The light pulsed like a heartbeat, illuminating a narrow path amid the encroaching shadows. Sarah hesitated, caught between the horrific specter of the entity before her and the flicker of hope that beckoned. The whispers swirled around her, dark tendrils wrapping tighter, their caustic laughter harmonizing with the pounding of her heart. Were these the souls lost to the darkness, or mere echoes of her own despair? She took a cautious step toward the light, each movement weighed down by uncertainty. The shadows quivered, responding to her hesitation with a ferocity that sent a shiver up her spine. The classroom walls closed in, shrieking under the pressure of unseen forces. "You can't escape," they hissed, as if the very building conspired against her. Sarah felt the urge to retreat, to bury herself within the folds of darkness. But an image broke through her terror, a face she recognized, her best friend Lily, eyes wide with fear, lost in this labyrinth just as she was. Rage ignited within her. This wasn't just about her anymore. The idea of losing Lily forever fueled her towards the light, a desperate pulse against the encroaching blackness. As she moved closer, the light revealed intricate symbols dancing in its glow, illuminating the hidden truths inscribed on the floor. Were they warnings or spells? Was this what Maplewood had been hiding all along? She read the words as they flickered like candlelight. The chosen endure, the weak wither. And just like that, the resonating laughter ceased. In its place, a weighty silence filled the room like tar, heavy and suffocating. Shadows seemed to recoil, forming into a grotesque, tangled mass at the edges of the light, their malevolent eyes glaring hungrily. "Fool," the entity spat, venom dripping from its tone. "You think the light protects you? It merely reveals the truth, a truth you cannot bear." Sarah swallowed hard, keeping her determination steady. The horror of it all settled upon her, thickening the air like fog. The classroom shifted, the floorboards creaking beneath her, threatening to give way. But as another pulse of the light surged, it illuminated a trapdoor at the far end behind her. Was it an escape or another deception? The shadows writhed and twisted, their cries morphing into the wails of lost children, pleading for rescue. "Join us, oh join us!" The mournful chorus tugged at her insides, stirring regret, grief, a longing she had never known. But Sarah clenched her fists, refusing to be lured by their despair. "What lies beneath?" she murmured, her curiosity bristling against the terror. If the darkness yearned for her, perhaps she could find a way to turn the tide. The shadows recoiled, as if sensing her determination. "Stay back!" she shouted, stepping towards the trapdoor. "I will not fade into your nightmare." With that, her foot landed on the trapdoor's latch, the wooden panel creaking under her weight. She paused, glancing back. The entity's form twisted into fury, the shadows rippling like wildfire. "You dare!" it roared, the sound penetrating deep into her bones. Instinctively, she grabbed the handle.
Whatever awaited below could be her salvation or utter doom. Either way, she refused to surrender. She would dive into the unknown rather than allow herself to be a pawn in their sinister game. As the trapdoor swung open, a gust of cold air rushed up, enveloping her. The darkness beyond loomed ominously, filled with the hushed secrets of Maplewood and the possibility of liberation. Heart racing, she leaped down into the abyss. Would she finally discover the truth behind the shadows, or would she seal her fate forever? The echoes of past souls seemed to laugh along with her, the final vow of a promise yet to be fulfilled. What awaits in the depths of despair, Sarah thought, as she plunged into the unknown, knowing she might find the answers or lose herself entirely. The darkness swallowed Sarah whole, its icy grip closing around her, tightening like a vice. As she descended, the air grew thick, stifling her breath. The cold clawed at her skin, making goosebumps rise. She felt like a ghost drifting down into a forgotten world, cut off from the sound of the howling classroom behind her. She landed hard on a damp, uneven surface. Instinctively, she rolled, coming to a crouch. The air tasted metallic, sharp against her tongue. Heart racing, she forced herself to look around. Glimmers of faint light flickered, casting eerie shapes on the walls. It was a corridor lined with ancient lockers, their doors rusted and ajar, revealing nothing but darkness within. Sarah shuddered, stepping cautiously forward, each echo of her footsteps like a pulse in the void. Any misstep felt like a tether to the horrors above, and the shadows a reminder that they were still hunting her. "Lily!" she called out, her voice cracking with desperation. The silence that answered clung heavily to her, an oppressive weight pressing down on her chest. She could almost feel the specters of the lost children swirling in the air around her, their whispers a chilling reminder of her isolation. After what felt like hours, Sarah reached a door at the end of the corridor. The wood was warped, the paint peeling like the skin of the damned. She had to know what lay beyond. Shaking, she reached for the handle freezing under her fingers. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open. Inside, the room was dim, illuminated only by a faint green glow emanating from an object on a lectern. As she stepped inside, a familiar chill loomed in the corners, thick as smoke. And there it was, a book bound in cracked leather, its pages fluttering as though caught in a non-existent wind. Looking over her shoulder, Sarah felt the shadows creep, eager to devour her decisions. She approached the book hesitantly, its cover etched with strange symbols she recognized from the classroom floor. The heartbeat of the light echoed here too, a pulse of destiny that felt almost sentient. With shaking hands, she opened the book. Words leapt off the pages, twisted and surreal. "The last lesson," it began, followed by incoherent chants and grim illustrations. Letters that could bind souls, sketches of children lost in the corridors of Maplewood, forever trapped. A sudden thud rattled the floor, sending Sarah's heart into her throat. She pivoted quickly. The door slammed shut, darkness spilling in like an avalanche, pooling around her ankles. Panic gripped her tighter than the shadows on the walls. "No! Let me out!" she screamed, her voice tinged with raw terror. The shadows surged, reaching for her with claw-like fingers. They weren't just remnants of despair. They were intent on claiming her. "Join us," they hissed, bitterness lacing their words. The horrible truth settled like lead in her stomach. This room was a prison, woven from the spirits who had perished here, the very essence of their suffering lingering in the air. But deep down, amid the chaos, Sarah felt a spark. "The chosen endure," she whispered, recalling the words on the classroom floor. Clutching the book tightly, she concentrated.
battling the encroaching darkness. "I will not be a lesson for you," she shouted, pouring every ounce of strength into her voice. The shadows hesitated, as if her words held power. Yet, just as she thought she could wrest control, the room began to tremble violently. The shadows recoiled like serpents, but then they surged forward again, greater than before. "Stop!" she yelled, her voice ringing through the thunderous chaos. The book pulsed in response, resonating with her cries, light spilling from its pages into the dark. But would it be enough? The temperature dropped sharply as she was met with sudden silence, a tension woven tight, waiting for a thread to snap. Just then, a new sound broke through the silence, a child's laugh, echoing through the void. "Save us," it called, innocent yet taunting. Her determination solidified into a spear of resolve. "What must I do?" Sarah cried out, desperate for direction. The shadows hushed, granting her a moment of clarity. But would it lead to salvation or destruction? As the shadows surged again, she stood bold, heart racing at whatever revelation awaited her. What price must I pay? The chilling silence filled with the laughter of lost souls, hinting that the next choice could consume her entirely. The air crackled with tension as Sarah stood before the dark room, heart pounding in her chest. Shadows writhed, restless and malicious, waiting for her to falter. "You want something from me?" she yelled, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. The laughter echoed again, and just like that, it was as if the room remembered the joy of childhood games.
"A lesson! A lesson!" it hummed, the voices intertwining into a maddening chant. As she clutched the ancient book tighter, its pages whispered secrets only she could hear. The symbols blinked like forgotten stars in the dark, urging her to delve deeper. She flicked through the pages hurriedly, searching for a clue, a way out, a way to save Lily, any glimmer of hope. Suddenly, a voice broke through the chaos. "She needs to make a choice." The sentence hovered, dripping with dread. Sarah felt as if it had been said directly to her soul. What choice? The shadows danced dangerously close, their whispers a chorus of despair and longing. "We yearn for freedom. Save us from this darkness." A rush of icy air enveloped her. She could feel dozens of eyes watching, judging every move. With shaky breaths, she landed on a page splashed with vivid crimson ink. It spoke of sacrifice. The price of freedom hung heavy in the air. Words flowed in a haunting lullaby, recounting tales of children lost, promising their freedom would come at the expense of another's soul. Fear gripped her. Was she meant to choose whom to sacrifice? "No, I won't," she cried, though uncertainty gnawed at her heart. The shadows recoiled, narrowing their gaze, as if the very thought of defiance ignited their hunger. "You don't understand," they hissed. Her mind raced. Was this real? Was there a way to bend the rules? She thought of Lily, her best friend, innocent and bright, trapped just like the others. "I won't pick anyone," she shouted defiantly. "I will find another way." There was a stark stillness. Then the room trembled violently, as if mocking her resolve. Whispers turned to screams engulfing her. "Foolish girl, you think you can escape?" The entire room felt like it was closing in. Walls pressed closer, shadows thickened. Panic ignited within her, but something else sparked too, a flicker of determination. "Enough!" Sarah shouted, voice cutting through the cacophony like a knife. She raised the book high, urging light to spill forth.
The room gasped, a moment of silence before the shadows shrieked in fury. Their forms twisted, clawing at each other, all striving to latch on to the brilliance of her defiance. In that split second, she dove deeper into the book, grounding herself in its power. She could do this. She felt it in her bones. Sarah began chanting words from the pages, her voice rising with authority. "We are chosen not to be devoured." The shadows shrieked, their grip faltering. For an instant it seemed to work. A brilliant light washed over the room, washing the darkness away. But the sinister laughter echoed louder, drowning everything. "You think you can break the cycle. A lesson must be learned." It spat with venom. Fear wrapped around her throat, choking her resolve. She felt warmth seep from her fingers. The book pulsed against her chest, the glow intensifying, blinding even the shadows for a brief moment. But with the light came a howl. The darkness wasn't just.
Pushed back, it was furious, alive, and relentless. With a final scream, she pressed on, pouring everything she had into the ancient words. "I will not let fear control my fate. I choose my own lesson." And then the ground shattered beneath her, a rift opening wide, beckoning all the lost souls. As she teetered at the brink of oblivion, she locked eyes with a figure looming in the shadows. The face was familiar, twisted but unmistakable. Lily. "Sarah," it called, reaching toward her with an outstretched hand. "Help me." In that moment, her heart sunk. What did the shadows have planned for both of them? Would she leap into the rift to save her friend? Or would she risk it all and try to seal it once and for all? A choice loomed before her, darker than the shadows that surrounded. What would she decide? The chasm beneath her opened wide, a gaping mouth ready to swallow them both whole. Sarah felt her heart racing, each beat a drum echoing in the suffocating silence. The darkness pulsed, aching to drag her into its depths. And there, suspended in that moment, was Lily, her face a haunting mix of fear and a warped familiarity. "Help me!" Lily's voice trembled, echoing against the howling shadows. The desperation in her tone pressed against Sarah's heart, wrapping it in excruciating tightness. "Hold on!" Sarah shouted, forcing her voice against the oppressive weight of the room. "I'm coming!" But the shadows tightened their grip, curling around her legs like icy tendrils, pulling her closer to the precipice. She risked a glance at the book, its pages still vibrating with power. She could feel the ancient energy. It was alive, but it was also dangerous. If she didn't handle it right, it could consume them both. "Choose, Sarah. You have to choose," the voice echoed again, a chorus of frantic whispers swirling in the darkness. "Your friend or the lesson?" A pit opened in her stomach. The price of freedom. A sacrifice. Sarah's pulse raced. Could she even trust what the voices said? They were the shadows that had tormented her after all. What if this was just another trick, another twisted game? Any slight decision could seal their fates. "Lily!" Sarah's voice cracked, fear clinging harsher than the chilling grasp of the darkness. "I won't leave you. I'll find a way around this." But as she strained against the pull, something in Lily's eyes flickered, an understanding mingled with terror. "Sarah, you don't know what's at stake. I might not be the same." Suddenly, a harsh laugh erupted from behind, echoing through the stifling air. "The choice you make now will determine both your fates. Let go of the light, embrace the shadows, and you could free her." The shadows around Sarah twisted, taunting her with visions of freedom and a world without conflict. She could hear the fabric of reality rippling, as if the very ground beneath her offered an escape. But at what cost? "Shut up! I won't listen!" Sarah shouted, feeling the warmth of the light pulsing from her fingers.
A desperate reflection of her friend appeared with every flicker, laughing blonde curls and the sunshine of innocent days. The shadowy figures hissed, recoiling in distaste at her defiance. The ground quaked again, a violent tremor shaking the room, expanding the rift below. "Mom, help me!" Lily's shout broke through her reverie. "Please, I can't." "Don't believe them! Don't let them take you!" Sarah's heart sank, torn between the fear displayed in her friend's face and the urge to fight the darkness. What was waiting for them on the other side? The air grew thin, the shadows thickened, circling tighter. Panic surged through Sarah's veins. The strength she gathered dissipated. She saw not just Lily standing there, but every lost child they'd mentioned in the book. The guilt weighed heavy on her chest. "Choose!" the voice screamed, a sound so chaotic that her brain felt ready to disintegrate. "Or be consumed!" In a split second, Sarah had to decide. Leap into the dark void to grasp Lily's hand, risking both their souls, or surrender, sealing herself in the book's power, ensuring one soul would be freed while the other remained forever lost. As her mind spiraled, she locked eyes with Lily. The decision loomed larger than before, dark and terrifying. "Sarah," Lily whispered, her expression twisting in anguish. With one deep breath, Sarah steadied herself at the edge of the rift, feeling the pull of the unknown. "I see it now," she murmured, her heart racing. "The lesson is not what they want us to learn." In that moment, something shifted inside her. A revelation mean to shatter the darkness. "Let's make our own choice!" And she leapt. Fingers grasping for the familiar warmth, she plunged into the void, the world erupting around her in a blinding flash of light and shadow. "What did we just unleash?" the shadows screamed, the room filled with a new darkness. This time, it felt different. What awaited them on the other side? Light exploded as Sarah and Lily surged into the void. They tumbled through a kaleidoscope of brilliance, colors colliding and shifting, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling around them. They grasped for each other, fingers intertwining, clinging to the warmth that told them they were still alive, still free. Then they landed hard, rolling onto solid ground that felt soft yet unbearable, like an old fairy tale book that had come to life. Sarah's heart raced, but the cries of the shadows faded into whispers behind them. They were gone, or so they thought. Lily pushed herself up, brushing dust off her clothes. "Did we escape?" Her eyes sparkled with hope, but the lingering shadows of doubt danced behind them. "I think we did," Sarah replied, glancing around. They stood in a vibrant forest, towering trees framing a horizon kissed by golden sunlight. Lush greenery surrounded them, the sweet scent of blooming flowers wafting through.
The air. Birds sang overhead, blissfully unaware of the turmoil they had just witnessed. But as a shiver coursed through her, Sarah's stomach churned. What if it was just the beginning? What else did we unleash? Lily's gaze shifted ominously. What about the others, the souls trapped in that school? In a heartbeat, Sarah understood the weight of their choice. They had broken free, but the pact that bound the shadows remained, clawing for revenge. "We have to go back," she asserted, her voice steady but trembling at the thought of facing the darkness once more. "We need to rescue them." "It could be too dangerous," Lily warned, fear flickering in her eyes. "No," Sarah said, the conviction spiraling in her heart. The only choice was to fight, not just for themselves, but for every innocent child still bound by that cursed darkness. Together they had awakened hope, and they couldn't let it dim again. "We can't leave them behind." The forest pulsed with energy, as if reacting to her determination. Trees began to sway, their leaves rustling like whispers of encouragement. With a deep breath, Sarah bolted forward, and Lily followed, their feet pounding against the soft earth, fueled by a sense of purpose. Suddenly, the world around them brightened, shimmering. and in an instant the shadows of Maplewood materialized before them, looming as black specters against the sunny panorama. The entity emerged from within the darkness, twisting and writhing with anger. "You thought you could escape? You're foolish to return," it hissed, a resonance echoing that froze the air around them. But Sarah felt an electric charge surge through her, igniting the spark of what they had discovered. "We are not afraid of you anymore." Facing the shadows, her voice was strong, an unwavering anchor amid the chaos. "We choose to fight back." Lily stepped beside her, bolstered by newfound courage. "We'll break the cycle. You don't own us." With those words, they conjured the light that had saved them, a force born from compassion, love, and defiance against despair. It pulsed around them, growing brighter as they edged closer to the shadows. The entity shrieked, twisting its form to escape the light, but it came too late. Light engulfed the forest, scintillating brightly as it wove around their fear. Images of lost children streamed through their minds, their laughter, their innocence, beckoning them to fight. Sarah and Lily united their power, the energy melding as they unleashed a brilliant wave of light. Shadows writhed and screamed, clawing against the radiance. The air crackled with intensity as their resolve grew stronger, turning the tide of despair into vibrant hope. The forest around them transformed, the darkness recoiling into the recesses of the school. The shadows writhed, losing their hold, slowly giving way to the powerful pulse of love and light that surged from their hearts. "Feel it! Let it go!" Sarah yelled, pouring every ounce of her spirit into the warmth, channeling her faith in freedom and love. With one final burst of energy, the entity dissipated, the shadows retracting into themselves like a drawn curtain revealing a bright sky. And in that moment, time slowed. The echoes of the past faded, and Sarah closed her eyes, envisioning all the lost souls breaking free from their chains. With a rush, the room fell silent. When Sarah opened her eyes, the forest transformed into a golden haven of life. Children's laughter floated on the gentle breeze. Wildflowers bloomed in abundance, and every forgotten soul danced beneath the soft blue sky, their spirits soaring high with liberation. "We did it," Lily whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Yes, together," Sarah cried, beaming. The shadows of Maplewood were no more. The lesson they had learned was not one of fear, but of courage, the understanding that love could conquer even the dark ties of despair. As they turned to leave, they took one last look at the bright horizon. Their journey had reshaped them, filled with hope and new purpose. They had saved the lost, embraced the lesson, and would carry their story forward. As they stepped toward the light, the world stretched ahead, shimmering with boundless possibilities, vibrant with life, an eternal reminder that darkness would always harbor, but the strength of humans could illuminate even the deepest shadows. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible journey. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.